Hi guys, I'm Shmee and welcome back to the channel where you join me today at the Dubai Autodrome with Audi Sports, and most importantly behind me the new R8 RWS, the first ever rear-wheel drive Audi R8. Now today we're going to take a full look around the car before I get an opportunity to drive it around this circuit and experience the fun and playfulness of just rear-wheel drive. It's 50 kilos lighter than the standard car. I'm rather looking forward to this. The car should be pretty epic. Let's check it out.
You cashed in on my promises. You know I'm too generous. Now I've learned to never help you out. 'Cause I'm done cleaning up your mess. Found myself in my regrets. I've become a little stronger now. A little stronger now.
Firstly, let's go for a walk around and talk about the features and details of the new R8 RWS, and then it's going to be my opportunity to take it out onto circuit and see what it's like. But I think we need to understand the name, the acronym RWS, and I was trying to have a think about what that could possibly stand for, and I got to really wants to slide and rogue wild side. I think two things that probably characterize what this driving experience later on is going to be like. But RWS in fact stands for Rear Wheel Series. It's a limited series, and like I said, the first ever rear wheel drive Audi R8. They're only going to be making 999 of them in total. It can be had as a coupe or a spider, but numbers will depend how customers order their car. But the biggest difference is lighter, still a naturally aspirated engine, and a lot of playful fun. But let's have a walk around now, talk about everything in a bit more detail. So by taking out Audi's Quattro system that all R8s have had before now, that means 50 kilos of weight is saved. All of the power is at the rear axle, driven completely by the rear wheels. The total weight is 1,590 kilos, but I think the big thing for me is that we still have the naturally aspirated V10. 5.2 litre 10-cylinder engine, 540 horsepower, 540 newton meters of torque, mid-rear mounted back here just in front of the rear axle, but all of that power going to the back is going to make this an awesome drive. 0 to 62 miles per hour takes 3.7 seconds in the coupe, 3.8 if you have the roofless version, and the top speed is 199 miles per hour or 198 in the Spider. Now looking around the car, the most distinct visual difference is the optional Audi Sport decal pack that you can see finishes the red stripe on the bonnet, the Audi Sport graphic on the roof, and continues down towards the rear spoiler. The spoiler that tucks up a little bit and then pops back down again depending on speed at the rear. A couple of other cosmetic things you'll notice: it has the white side blade matched with the black upper blade that you can see there. They would normally be in the same color, but again, it's super rare. There are not going to be very many of these. It has the S-tronic gearbox, which will make it a lot of fun to drive, but generally speaking, it's the familiar shape, style, design we've seen on the R8 of this generation. Just for the first time, Audi Sport breaking away from Quattro to send it all to the back. So let's have a quick glimpse at the interior here. Take this in. Again, familiar from the R8. Mix of leather and Alcantara in the center of the seat. 7-speed S-tronic. Audi's virtual cockpit. We'll have a look in more detail around the interior later on. The plaque that says 1 of 999 over on the other side to represent the total number. But I think actually, let's jump in and just start it up so we can hear the noise of this V10, which you do with the button right here. and we're into life. So I'm ready to take this car out onto the track and to see what it's like, to experience the differences and the fun character that I think is going to come from this. Let's go and find out. Out onto the track we go, and it is scorching hot here today, but I've got a couple of laps to experiment now and discover this car and the differences from Quattro to rear wheel drive. And I'm starting in full auto normal mode, automatic gearbox, just to get a feel for what that's like and talk you through it a little bit, although I'll move up through the different modes and experiment with them. So we have drive select, which on the new R8, if you've seen my other videos with the car or you know about it already, you have the control for drive select on the steering wheel, so you can press the button and go through comfort, auto, dynamic, or into individual. Individual, you can customize things like the steering feel, the suspension feel, the throttle response, and the exhaust noise. But for the track, you would naturally want to drive it in dynamic mode. You can additionally pull the lever in the center down towards you and flick it between drive and sport mode. So one more, we're into sport, lower gears selected, or you can then move it over to the right naturally if you want to have it manual on the paddles. So we will do that just so we can get a little bit more noise out of this exhaust. And you look at the virtual cockpit, which is a lovely display. Those crackles on the exhaust are awesome, and you start to get a feel for that noise as we build up some revs. So we'll come round to the start line and then really put the foot to the floor and hear the full whale in all of its glory. But it feels a little bit more nimble, a little bit more sprightly. The front end is obviously lighter and more ready to dart around, even with full traction control on, which will obviously intervene if at the moment I were to put my foot down too hard, do anything that I shouldn't do. But here we go, away up to the red line. The dashboard blinks away at you, fully lit up in red, to let you know that you're there. 200 odd, 220 odd, 230s before we start to brake. And there was more room. I'm not using the brakes full on for the moment, just get the downshifts as we drop it down and start to drive a little bit more aggressively. And away we go again. And this is my kind of experience. What? Oh my goodness, it just feels ready to go, and the front is so delicate. You can pinpoint where you want to put it and start to feel the back just wanting to go a slight little bit. Great brakes there in towards these S's, which is such a cool little bit of track. But you have to keep your wits about you to get the right line through here. Take this corner wide and then back in towards the apex. Put the power down. Oh, the noise in here, it's monumental. Long live the V10. What an epic, epic soundtrack. Now you can put ESC into sport mode with one press, stabilization ESC into sport. You can press and hold it then, just with one extended hold to turn it off. So we'll get out onto the start line, foot down to the floor here. And then we will hold it and get it up into ESC off. There we go, all the way off. Unfortunately with manual I would run into the red line. If you're in dynamic it won't shift up automatically. If you're in one of the lower modes it will do so. Now on the dashboard you could have all sorts of navigation, not that you would really need the navigation out here on the racetrack. You should probably know where you're going. This is the club circuit at Dubai Autodrome. But now we can start to feel a little bit of the car and hopefully not get it the wrong way around. But as we go, just listen to those noises. I'll wait for some corners to play around. Yeah, I can start to feel it a little bit. The back gets a little bit lighter. There we go. There we go. That's the rear wheel drive doing its thing. Okay then, so this corner, let's bring it right down. First gear. And give it a little bit of a spurt of power. Oh yeah, it's ready to go. Ready to go. Oh, I can see where this is going. Okay, this car has some intent. Give it a flick, mid-engine, and hold it. Yes! Yes, so easy. It's very, very playful, that's for sure. I can feel that it's gonna snap almost. I mean, that's the layout, isn't it? Mid-rear engine, much, much more delicate control required than, let's say, if you had the engine at the front. But as we come around now towards the start line, and it's a short lap, so I'm getting some good track time here. Just give it a kick, feel the back going, and then it's foot to the floor again, up towards the red line, down the straight. What a sound, what a feeling. This is my kind of car, and this is an epic day as we're up towards 240 and onto the brakes firm down towards this first corner of the track. Woohoo! Feel it, I can feel it, this is cool. And hold it, hold it, hold it, and away we go. the balance. It's monumental. There she goes. We'll hold it through turn 2 of the S's, then we'll let it go again. Oh yes! Oh no, I'm around, I've messed it up. Oh, well, you have to be really careful, obviously, and I wasn't careful enough, but it was epic fun, and away we go again. I've got the track to myself, but you have to be aware of what you're doing here. Oh my goodness, so the car, gotta be careful, it might bite, but, woo, this is awesome fun. As epic fun as this is, and I could really go all day long, let's pop it back into automatic on the gearbox, normal drive mode. In fact, why don't we go back completely to auto and let the car cool down, a little bit of a cool down lap before we take it back in. It has been awesome fun, even if I may have had, you know, 1 or 2 little moments of extra enthusiasm, we can say, but just driving it, doing this in an R8 that's normally Quattro all-wheel drive, this is pure fun. It is super, super snappy and jumpy to drive. It's very, very willing to bite you. There is no question about that. So you need to keep your wits about you. But entertainment to the max. Awesome, awesome experience out here on the track. Let's go back in and talk a little bit more about it. It's the end of the day, the light is going down, but what an awesome afternoon I have had with this car. Let's have a little further walk around it now, just to talk a bit more about the R8 RWS and some of the specification details and an inside look at it as well. But driving it, experiencing the rear-wheel drive platform of this car, taking away Quattro. Yes, it loses certain elements from the safety, the security that comes from all-wheel drive, from the ability to launch off the line as quick, and let's say pull out of corners quite as fast, but what it introduces is a hilarious amount of fun in a car that, yes, is very snappy, like I mentioned. It's happy to jump and spin around and go a little bit crazy, but it is entertainment to the max, and there's not that much tread left on the rear tyres, unsurprisingly. I'm going to come around and show you quickly inside the engine bay, but to do so you need the ignition on, and then you can release the electronic latch just behind the seat here. It's hydraulically opening, and we can have a look at the top of the 5.2 litre NA V10, that glorious engine. Now sadly, engines like that aren't necessarily going to be around for too much longer, but as long as they are, I'm going to be driving them and having as much fun as I can. Let's just close this back down. It's very warm, unsurprisingly. Oh, it needs a firmer shut. But there we go. Around back, familiar rear end on the R8, the distinct tail lights running the full width that was all slightly revised from the first generation. Down towards the bottom, the fins of the diffuser, the distinct exhaust pipes, slightly more angular than they were before. The previous generation had round exhausts on the GT version and oval on the regular model, but here slightly more squared and, as I say, angular. The wheels, this car comes as standard with a black wheel design. This one is running on, I think, test wheels. It's a test car, naturally. Also with the RWS, you get the matte black finish around the front and the intakes, which is slightly different. But all in all, very familiar feeling Audi R8, but with, well, familiar looking, very different feeling R8 system. So let's just have one last jump in here. We'll take the car back round to the pit box, and then I'll show you the inside in more detail. And here we are, so that's the end of my driving, but I will switch it back on just so we can take a last little look through the various bits and pieces in here. So, airbag on, good thing to know. One thing I like is on the left hand side you can have a number of performance bits of data, so tyre pressures and temperatures, and the usage of power and torque. So just to give you a blip if you haven't seen that while I've been driving. So a couple of bits of information and things in there, lap times, statistics, drive select info. Good to have all of this immediately accessible through that left display. So you have the virtual cockpit. I'm sure you've seen it in different models before. It translates all the way through Audi's range now, more or less, and you can set it up how you want, and even we could load the navigation. No, we don't have navigation in here. That makes life a little bit different, but you can go back through different menus and you can just change everything depending how you want it set up. That's all controlled through the left side. Obviously drive select and start, as we talked about, your media on the right. You can open the bonnet from this side. Tiny little bonnet will just fit one bag that you can take on a plane. Mirror controls, windows. The seats have some electrical movement, so up and down electrically, and then forwards, backwards. But to slide the seat forward, there is a lever underneath on this side, yep, just there, that will allow the seat to move forwards. Then what else do we have? I mean, yeah, the plaque over here, one of 999. Dark, almost chrome-esque finishes around the different components. Then your temperature controls in the center. I'm a big fan of these. I just think, although they're floating, it's just really stylish, very nice way to do it. Storage bucket down here with a USB port, aux, and a 12-volt socket. Then the controls we've been playing around with. You can put the spoiler up manually should you wish. Key slots in here, which is quite nice to have a little home for it almost. Then your gear selector, as you'd expect. One thing that's odd, the plus and minus are the wrong way around. If you're driving like a sequential race car and you were to push, you know, when you're braking to go down a gear, you push forward because that's the momentum of braking, but that would go the wrong way. Funny peculiarity. The selector and controller for the entertainment, small little arm storage bucket as well in the middle here with some cup holders. Other than that, you've got a parcel shelf behind you with a cargo net, and that's more or less it. I might just show you the bonnet space quickly. We'll turn it off. There we go. Farewell for now, you lovely, lovely thing. What an epic day this has been. Epic, epic, epic doesn't really fully explain the whole story. Pull the catch, you can see the space in the front, just a bag in there, and then maybe some soft stuff over the top. Little cargo net if you've got something small. Maybe I could even put my camera in there. For now, let's close this back up. Give it a click and a press down. It's been really fun driving a car wearing a German number plate here in the UAE. That means it can just be driven off track. It's not registered for the road unless it's wearing a local number plate. But outside of that, what a lovely, lovely fun thing to drive. Super twitchy and requires you to be absolutely on it and thinking about everything that you're doing, but really enjoyable experience. It brings to me something a little bit more alive about the character of the car that the all-wheel drive, the Quattro version, doesn't necessarily have. Perhaps they could make the full 610 horsepower if you have an R8 V10 Plus. The full Quattro, you have 610 horsepower rather than the 540 in here, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's not enough from my experience. Anyway, a big thanks to Audi Sport. I've had an incredible afternoon. Thank you very much to you guys for watching as always. I really appreciate it, but I'm gonna wrap this one up for there. That's been the R8 RWS, a first look at it. I've had an awesome day. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll catch up with you again very soon. Cheers.